We yearn for truth. Yet we often find ourselves lost, ignoring divine guidance. Romans January 17th, 32 shines a light on this human paradox. It reveals the consequences of choosing self-made truths over faith in God. Paul speaks of a righteousness revealed from heaven, a gift from God's grace. This righteousness, available through faith in Jesus Christ, transforms us from the inside out. Yet humanity often chooses a different path, suppressing the truth. We fashion our own idols, worshipping creations rather than the Creator. This rejection of God's truth has profound implications, both personal and societal. Ignoring divine guidance leads to a distorted perception of reality, where truth becomes subjective. Paul emphasizes that true righteousness is a gift received through faith. Think of a struggling student overwhelmed by a challenging subject. A tutor steps in, offering not just knowledge, but a new way of understanding. This is akin to what God offers us through faith in Jesus. Faith becomes the bridge that connects us to God's grace. This righteousness is a transformative power, like a garden tended to flourish. God's righteousness cleanses us from sin and empowers us to bear fruit. This gift is available to all who believe, not reserved for the elite. In surrender, we find true freedom from self-justification and fear of condemnation. Consider a modern parable to illustrate the peril of ungodliness. A brilliant scientist, driven by knowledge, dismisses any notion of a higher power. His relentless pursuit of knowledge blinds him to the ethical implications of his work. He justifies his actions, believing the ends justify the means. This tale reminds us of the dangers of elevating our intellect above all else. When we fail to acknowledge a higher power, we become dangerously arrogant. This parable highlights the potential for our greatest gifts to become destructive without a foundation of righteousness. Romans 1 describes the downward spiral when humanity turns away from God. We create idols, worshipping created things instead of the Creator. Today, our idols are more subtle but no less insidious. We can become consumed by wealth, power, or pleasure, making them our driving forces. Social media can become an idol, feeding our desire for validation. We curate our online personas, seeking likes and followers at the expense of authenticity. The consequences of this idolatry are profound, leaving us empty and dissatisfied. Our relationships suffer, our values become distorted, and we lose sight of what truly matters. The pursuit of false gods leads only to disillusionment and despair. Romans 1 doesn't shy away from the consequences of rejecting God's righteousness. Paul speaks of God's wrath as a just response to the perversion of good. This principle of sowing and reaping is woven into the fabric of life. When we choose ungodliness, we reap a harvest of brokenness. This harvest can manifest in various forms, from broken relationships to injustice. The consequences of our actions impact not only ourselves, but also future generations. Divine judgment is a call to accountability, reminding us of the seriousness of our choices. Despite the warnings in Romans 1, there is hope. The chapter concludes with a call to embrace the light of God's truth. We can choose to align ourselves with the higher truths found in God's Word. This requires humility and a willingness to embrace God's wisdom. It demands a transformation of the heart, turning away from self-centeredness. This alignment is a daily pursuit, making choices that reflect God's character. It means treating others with dignity and respect, even when difficult. It requires standing up for truth and justice, even at a personal cost. Living in alignment with God's righteousness may lead to hardship. However, in this surrender, we find true fulfillment and lasting joy.